Welcome back to the Midnight Who Show, and today the horrors continue, and it's not just from YouTube changing some policies. No, we're talking about The Simpsons doing a different type of Treehouse of Horror. This time, they're focusing on Thanksgiving, because this year, for their 31st season, was the very first Thanksgiving of horror. When I first heard about this idea, I was really excited for it. When I first heard about this new Simpsons episode, I was really excited for it because, of course, I really enjoy Treehouse of Horrors, and the Thanksgiving twist sounded very intriguing. And of course, after I watched it last night, it did not disappoint. This was amazing. The stories were really well written, and there was some really kind of horror twist on kind of Thanksgiving ideas, which I thought was very interesting. So let's, of course, start with the very first segment, which was, of course, a gobble eep toe. I still can't pronounce that one perfectly. But of course, this takes place way back in the 1600s, when we get to meet the Simpsons family as turkeys. And of course, a whole bunch of other Springfield residents have been reborn into turkeys. Remember when I had a dog earlier? Now I have a cat. The Simpsons family has now been reborn as turkeys. And one thing I found really interesting about the turkeys is that they're basically... they just, with their gobbles, they just captured the personality of all these residents, like, you know, the Homer and Flanders and just even Sideshow Mel, just all of them. You just can see it, and even when Homer's like, wanting to say, you know, oh, Flanders is here, the gobbles give it away, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, of course, these turkeys get captured by the new settlers, led by, of course, Constable Wiggum, and basically, when they get to the kind of little colony, you get to see it from the turkey perspective. They're getting seeing the deadly kind of Thanksgiving elements being put together, heads being cut off with all the blood around. They did it right. It got a little graphic there with the turkeys. For the turkeys, they were getting a little scared there, but I like it. But I found it really kind of funny how, you know, Homer is the main one who survives, of course, but throughout all the beheadings of turkeys, he's kind of like, you know, like, oh, you know, you can tell by the gobbles, but then you have the Patty and Selma turkey, and he, for some reason, enjoyed that. I wonder why. Of course, the Simpsons turkeys, they escape, but they're chased by Constable Wiggum, who basically does capture them, win, and he ends up getting mauled by a bear. Quite violently, and a lot of blood. Definitely taking your Thanksgiving tradition quite a little bit differently. It's different. It's horror twist. Overall, I really enjoyed this first segment. It was just kind of different, but also it's just hilarious. You know, seeing it kind of from the turkeys' perspective, how they're seeing what the colonists are doing. And I also really enjoyed when the Native Americans came by, you know, with some food to give to the settlers, the colonists, and they see it all on fire, and they're just like slowly packing away. They're not dealing with that. So yeah, overall, a fantastic start to this Thanksgiving of horror. The second Thanksgiving of horror story, of course, is the fourth Thursday after tomorrow, where Homer buys an AI kit, kitchen AI, and basically has all the personality and voice of Marge. And basically, it kind of slowly replaces kind of Marge's role as, you know, basically cooking, which you can definitely tell Marge is not too happy about. And after one thing that Marge was not happy about, she wanted Homer to deactivate it. So, of course, AI Marge had to think of a way how to get past a literal firewall. So, thanks to the AI being able to kind of speed up time, she had 8 years to think about it, and basically decided to upload herself to the internet, where she can now see all the world of knowledge. But yeah, overall, this was a very kind of fascinating kind of tale. I really actually enjoy it because it kind of shows, you know, basically the world of AI and how it can just get kind of overwhelming. You know, it's just so much with AI, it can get kind of crazy. And, you know, basically kind of Marge is now using the AI kind of to her advantage to get Thanksgiving dinner done. And she's just kind of taking all the credit. The AI is not happy about that. But I found it kind of interesting how, you know, there's the end of this episode and how Homer turned out to be a robot, and it kind of just reminded me of the old Westworld film. It just reminded me so much of that. And of course, Marge is not too happy that Maggie chose virtual AI Marge instead of herself. But yeah, definitely a very fascinating tale, and definitely a little bit of an interesting story to see how much reliance on technology and adding personality to them can affect the world. Now, the final story is, of course, the last Thanksgiving. The world is now over in cryosleep, but the children wake up first. And they realize it's Thanksgiving. So they, of course, try to celebrate it. They look through their food supply, realize they don't have much. So Bart finds one can of cranberry sauce, and, of course, tries to replicate it in a replicator that is not recommended to replicate that type of material. It creates this giant beast, this giant cranberry beast that literally sucks the skeleton out of them. Yes, they definitely took some horror elements here. But yeah, overall, this was a very interesting, and it was very kind of interesting to see how Martin kind of basically became one with the cranberry beast and saw it as the almighty choice right now. And it was definitely a very interesting thing how you should maybe read instructions and not skip things like Bart did in this, because it might create a giant cranberry beast who did just want to be eaten in the end when the crash landed on this planet. Thanksgiving, of course, became the first Thanksgiving. This was a fantastic episode. I never really think The Simpsons could have ever done a Thanksgiving of horror, and yet they did. It was very well written and was very enjoyable, and I definitely would recommend, if you haven't watched it, definitely watch it. It was probably one of my favorites in Simpsons episode in a very long time. So that's, of course, it for tonight. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if, of course, you saw this episode, tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.